This video is sponsored by Raycon. Oh, it's the holidays, and you know what that means. Punish! But instead of tossing a loved one out the window, might I recommend Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classics instead. As someone who's been using them for several years now, either during walks outside or doing chores at the house, I can assure you they're great for your musical needs and blocking out all that festive drama around you. They truly make the perfect holiday gift, and what timing? They're currently 20% off. On top of coming in a variety of colors, I'm personally big on the color blue, and I think this jerk is somewhat responsible for that. The Everyday Earbuds come with a bunch of neat features, including multi-point connectivity so you can pair with two devices at once, and their ergonomic design ensures a comfortable fit while making sure they won't fall off your ears no matter what you're doing. They're also half the price compared to other big brands out there while delivering the same premium audio quality with over 3 million happy customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee to give you peace of mind with your purchase. It's enough to lose your head over. The Everyday Earbuds Classics are here for the holiday season. Raycon audio products in general are up to 20% off this holiday season. Just click the link in the description below or go to buyraycon.com/somecallmejohnny to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. Order by December 15th to guarantee delivery by Christmas because great gifts like these shouldn't show up late. Thank you as always for supporting my channel, and I hope your holidays are full of merriment and mirth. Or else. Once more, we're in the holiday season, and that usually means it's time for me to head back into the world of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's expected of me at this point. But we're between mainline games, so that means it's time for some spin-offs, and today I'm going to be looking at two, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds and Sonic Rumble. Sure, I could have been a dirty little whore and separate these into two videos for the sake of collecting a bigger paycheck, but ultimately I decided it was best to just combine both of these into one video because this isn't the first time I tackled Sonic spin-off games. I really shouldn't be wasting your time with these too much anyway, but also, I had almost no thoughts or opinions heading into either of these games. Let's start with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, the latest racing game for Sonic and the gang. Now, if I recall, this was revealed last year during Jeff Keighley's annual sponsored suck-off. Not judging too harshly, I do sponsors myself, but like, damn. I had no real reaction to the announcement because, yeah, I don't think it's asking much to expect another Sonic racing game at some point or another, but also, this was the one following the absolute nothing burger that was Team Sonic Racing. Which, fun fact, I haven't replayed since my review of it well over 6 years ago. I don't even remember making this video. This game did dick all for me. It looked good and had great music, but even with its budgeted price, it was a hard recommend considering it felt like a step back in almost every sense of the word from All-Stars Racing Transform, which for the longest time was the standard I held all future Sonic racing games towards. Standard kart racing, I should probably say, because I consider Sonic Riders to be a completely different beast. However, for what it's worth, there were some things intriguing about Sonic Racing CrossWorlds from the get-go. For one, it was being developed by Sonic Team, and they haven't been involved in the racing scene since Sonic Riders nearly, Jesus Christ, 20 years ago. Yeah, for years, Sonic racing games have normally been handed to different studios with varying degrees of success. But the main studio taking the helm did leave me curious, and that curiosity paid off when I realized that not only was the game rocking a larger roster of Sonic characters compared to TSR, they remembered Cream the Rabbit existed for one thing, good for her, but the cross-world element meant that transforming courses were being brought back from Transform, as well as transforming vehicles, your ride turning into a plane when you take off to the skies, or a boat when you sail across the salt. Alright, so far so good, that's pretty neat. But then I swear promotions of the game just disappeared into nothingness for an uncomfortably long time, and at this point, I think this is just a thing for Sonic racing games considering I said the same shit for Team Sonic Racing. To be fair, I feel this is in one part because of my reduced time on social media, which is normally how I keep up to date on things. I'm gonna be upfront with you guys if it wasn't already blatantly obvious at this point. I'm rarely on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck it's called anymore. I only post there now when I launch a new video, and even then the site's algorithm punishes me for doing that, and I refuse to subscribe to the platform to artificially boost my numbers. It all feels so fucking fake now, and the more I try to convince myself to stay there as a content creator, the more I begin to feel like a beaten spouse. Which isn't to say, oh man, you gotta get on Blue Sky or whatever. No, that site isn't a magical cure-all either. Certainly better than the alternative, I think, and I do occasionally enjoy posting art of my Final Fantasy XIV characters I cook up in my spare time, but I'm finding myself more exhausted at the idea of trying to keep up with everything at once, which, to get back to the original point, is probably the reason I saw almost nothing about this game in the coming months. At the same time, my experience with Team Sonic Racing left me so ambivalent to future Sonic racing games that, I won't lie, a part of me only considered giving CrossWorlds a shot because I can make a video on it. Again, I think it's expected of me. Even after more stuff was finally being shown off, even after they released another damn cool animation time to promote the game, which I gotta say, holy shit, Shadow fans ate so fucking good with this one. A final huzzah to the Year of Shadow celebration. Even the announcement of cross-promotional DLC did little to sway me. Yeah, the game as of now isn't just Sonic characters, original timeline, and from Sonic Prime, that absolute waste of time on Netflix. Fuck that show. But there's also Hatsune Miku, the Jonquillet from Persona 5, Steve and Alex from Minecraft, fucking Spongebob, SquarePants, and Patrick. We're getting TMNT later, as well as Aang from Avatar. Mega Man, that's pretty cool. And there's even gonna be some Sonic IDW representation with Tango and Whisper, which, hell yeah, about fucking time IDW started getting more love. Just give me Surge and Lanolin next it, and I'm set for life, at least until the next game, because that's normally how it works. Honestly, I do miss when the games used to represent all of Sega, no matter how obscure. The first two All-Star games weren't just racing games in my eyes, they were fun little museums celebrating the company's history. Sure, we still got some Sega representation here anyway, like with Ichiban from Like a Dragon. Back, you savages! Fuck up, leave me alone! There's also plans to include other Sega characters in free updates later, like Knights from Nights into Dreams and Ai from Super Monkey Ball. I'm also hearing rumors of Echo the Dolphin potentially making the roster, and if that happens, well, nothing. I'm just going to give Ed Annunziata a very weird look. Still, I just wasn't anticipating Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and it wasn't until the open network test, hosted a couple weeks prior to the launch of the game, where I finally decided to see what was up. Short and to the point, I thought the game was pretty good. I had a decent time playing with both close friends and my Discord community, the Subshack. To mention again, I was going to get the game anyway for the sake of the review, but it was assuring to know that, hey, I might have something to look forward to when the full game comes out. However, this is where the first hurdle enters the road. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds at the time of this video is a full-priced game, even more so if you want the deluxe edition, which comes with your typical season pass bullshit along with the Sonic Prime characters. This is unusual for Sonic Racing games because they're normally what I consider to be budget titles. Shit, Team Sonic Racing was being sold at $40 when that was newly released, and even then I still didn't think it was worth even that price. But CrossWorlds don't give a fuck, it's $70, $80 for the deluxe edition. Man, if you ask me if I think it's worth that price now, fuck no. Wait until all the free DLC is released, wait until that season pass finishes. That's the short version of it, but let's dig a little deeper. Firstly, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds drops the story mode altogether from TSR, which I don't think anyone would think is a real casualty looking back, which was kind of there previously. This game is all about getting you into the track and blasting off as soon as possible. It's pretty no nonsense. Instead, the game puts emphasis on rival interactions. In single player, you're given a rival that will act as your, well, let's face it, only real competition because the other 10 racers don't really matter. They're dumb as rocks and in some cases actually live under one. Almost every character has unique dialogue for a particular racer, and it's fun seeing how characters who we normally never see interact with each other make a quip about either them or their racing abilities. And I'll say right now, someone needs to keep a fucking eye on Charmy.
Your fire powers are so cool! I wanna try! Set me on fire! Set me on fire!
What the fuck? For me, because Sage is included in the roster, without a doubt the best thing from Sonic Frontiers, I wanted to see how she would interact with E123 Omega, or Metal Sonic, or maybe get a sneak peek on how she feels about other Sonic characters that future games might go further into.
The Doctor's daughter? Excellent. He leaves his heart open to attack.
Zavok, I am fully aware of the threat you pose to my father's forces. I will deal with you accordingly.
Unfortunately, DLC characters are exempt from this since they tragically go unvoiced, and I get the potential legal hurdles, but come on man, I would love to see what Patrick would say against Sonic, Tails, shit, I even take Hatsune Miku.
Ready? Miku Miku?
The character interactions are fun and add a healthy degree of personality to the single player, which itself is nothing you really haven't seen already beforehand in other racing games, Sonic or otherwise. There's a good number of Sonic characters available by default, and they all specialize in a specific category as you'd expect them to. But you can also choose one of many vehicles to better suit which playstyle you prefer. Stuff like top speed if you're familiar enough with the course and feeling confident, acceleration to get going faster than others, power to shrug off attacks, handling to turn corners better, or boosting for tighter drifting and more boosts. On top of this, as you keep playing, you unlock gadget slots that you can use to equip your character with perks. You know, stuff like better boosting or item modifiers to make it more likely you'll get specific weapons to help your playstyle. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds gives the player a lot to customize. I feel you can tinker with this shit and discover new ways of getting that competitive edge like months after the fact. It is a bit of a grind though, since unlocking vehicle parts and other doodads requires the dumb pot tickets or whatever the fuck these are. And you're not getting a whole bunch of these at once. There's something you're supposed to passively earn either through Grand Prix or by completing weekly challenges. When you finish the Grand Prix mode, you also get access to the friendship feature where you can start unlocking character specific customization options as you rank up your friendship levels with certain characters. And holy fuck, it can cost so many damn tickets, especially with characters like Blaze. Taking advantage of my love of a character the series barely uses. Thanks a lot, assholes. And on Sonic Rush's 20th anniversary too, you fucks. Personally, my vehicle of choice was Extreme Gear from Sonic Riders, and in this game I don't gotta worry about keeping the thing full of air because that was and still is a dumb fucking mechanic, and I'm right because this is my video and not yours. But no, out of every vehicle I experimented with, I felt like I was most in control with boards. Drifting and performing tricks for bursts of speed never felt easier. But it should be said, every vehicle has its advantages. It's entirely dependent on how you like to play kart racers. That said, it's just not ground travel you have to consider, because throughout the race there'll be times where you have to take off to the sky or jet across water like in All-Stars Racing Transform. And I'm happy to see this back, but I'm also a little conflicted. Boosting through these segments requires that you sacrifice some degree of control. In the air, this means you can't turn nearly as well. And on a boat, you can barely turn at all. And every time you boost, you do a little jump, which, yeah, it means you can do more air tricks and get even more speed when you land. But since you can barely turn worth a damn, it's very easy to just eat shit at the nearest wall. It feels clumsy. It's a careful balancing act of knowing when to boost and when not to boost, and using the brake button instead to make those turns, which just slows your vehicle down to a fucking crawl. But it just feels awful. I understand that water and air travel and Transform were not so much different than ground travel, but if they had to make it more unique, I don't think this is the way to do it. The air travel I don't really mind so much, but I straight up don't like boat sections in this game. It's the low point of the gameplay for me. I feel I have little control of my vehicle during them. But even so, that only matters so much anyway, because games like these aren't always about skill. They're luck-based. You and your opponent can really fuck up someone's day with a barrage of attack and defensive items available to you every time you pass an item capsule. You know, shred someone's fender with a buzzsaw, punch the shit out of them with a boxing glove, or send King Boom Boom to the driver in the first place. Oh, he's wearing sunglasses. That's actually a great attention to detail. Utilize the laser power from Sonic Colors and steal first place from right under your competition's nose. I actually managed to do this very thing against my community during a recording session. That victory was totally unearned, but seeing everyone's reaction to it was a euphoria that I cannot immediately describe. This game even lets you harness the power of a monster truck and run everything over, and you bet your ass I immediately think of Ace Ventura whenever I use this shit. You have a standard Grand Prix mode where you race against other opponents and try to consistently place how to get the most points in the end. By default, there's 7 cups and a special cup unlocked by completing the others, as well as bonus DLC cups that's currently getting updated throughout the months. And at the start, you have 3 speeds to choose from, letting you get a feel for the game's mechanics at your own pace. Though personally, anything below Sonic speed feels almost unbearably slow. It's like playing Mario Kart at 50cc. You gotta keep it accessible, of course. Not everyone's gonna be an expert right out of the gate, but damn, a fucking tortoise can lap me with the speeds I'm going at here.
Try taking a bus, Moses!
When you finish the Grand Prix, you unlock the Supersonic speed, which is slowly becoming my favorite option. You go so fucking fast. And because I'm someone who prefers vehicles with better handling and drift, turning is not so much of an issue for me most of the time. But as of now, you can't pick it in online mode. It's only something you can experience in single player and local co-op. My main gripe with Grand Prix, outside of the usual "fuck, I was doing so well until my opponents fucked me in the ass again," is the repetitious gameplay loop. Every Grand Prix consists of 4 races, as you'd expect, but the final track is not so much a unique track, but rather a final exam where you swap between the last 3 tracks you literally just raced in previously. Not only that, but throughout a race, the course will transform into a different course pulled from the CrossWorlds section, depending on what the current first place driver selects. And this could be something unique if the selection is random, but often it could be a course you already drove through in a previous Grand Prix or in the exact same Grand Prix. I want to stress that I love that the game keeps you on your toes with the cross-dimensional gimmick. It's important that a game like this keeps you stimulated, but it can be deflating when you're trying to bask in a new course that you never really experienced yet, and then the game takes you back to another track you've already been to, possibly multiple times. And the game offers a ton of these cross-world tracks. You can see it in the time trials mode, where you can practice to your heart's content and get your knowledge of the track's design locked in. But I felt I barely saw half of these tracks in Grand Prix because either through bad luck or what have you, I saw Digital Circuit and Hollis Goodnight more times than I could count. I think it would have been better if they went with the transformed route where it's one track, but every lap throws a wrench in the course design to keep it varied and fresh without outright changing the entire zone. Something like that I think would have helped the CrossWorld tracks feel more like dedicated courses and not, singular lap gimmicks. Outside of Grand Prix though, you can partake in the race park and through some kooky stipulations add some flavor to standard racing. See who can bump into each other the most, who can collect the most rings, or if you like the TSR team-up mechanic, try to win a race and get mad at whenever your teammates do worse than you do, or feel like shit when you realize you're the weak link. If you're a lonely fuck, physically speaking anyway, online is likely where you'll be spending most of your time, and about half of my playtime for this review was via the online mode, and I want to take some time to thank my community for joining me for the online sessions. Leave it up to my fans to demonstrate that no matter how well I think I might do against the AI, I ain't shit against those that are clearly more dedicated. I got trampled, punched, slimed, and blown up so many damn times my insurance premiums are a fucking X variable. I was even bukkake with a barrage of monster trucks, but you know what? It was a great time. The online session entirely, not the bukkake part. I'm glad I wasn't alone in my dislike of Mystic Jungle. The water section makes me think I'm in a boat sequence, but it's treated like a standard road and it just confused the fuck out of me. Though you guys really couldn't stand White Cave from Sonic Riders from what I gathered, and I just find that funny considering how some of you don't like my opinions on the game itself. I'm not crazy, I'm just head of the curve, baby. Like, oh, there's a car. But on the plus side, the online connectivity was genuinely stable. We rarely ran into any connection issues, and I didn't feel any degree of lag to put a damper on my controls. I'm looking forward to revisiting this in the coming months since the game is going to be getting constant updates with new characters and additional courses. And when the game's finally finished, then we can argue if it's worth its full price or not, but as of right now, it just isn't. It's a great game. It controls damn well, its graphics are colorful and full of fun visual effects, and the music is alright. I couldn't remember a lot of it outside of a few remixes of specific stages. I like the Sonic Unleashed tracks and Sonic Frontiers, but I found the other tracks kind of forgettable. I'm not terribly big on EDM, and that's part of what made me so ambivalent to Sonic Forces music as an example. Sometimes it sounds too screechy for me. Although I am aware completing time trials gives me access to more music, so maybe I just need to spend more time there. It's just by default, I wasn't the biggest fan of the game's score. I had a lot of fun playing this game online with my community, but the single player is nothing to write home about. And while I'm glad the core gameplay goes back to what I enjoyed about All-Stars Racing Transformed, I find the plane and boat segments weaker. And at the end of it all, it's a standard Sonic kart racer. It fulfills its purpose pretty well, I might add, but it's also something I find you don't need to play like right now. Wait for a price drop or when the game goes on sale, which to be fair, it's Sonic, so that's likely to happen sooner rather than later. Hell, at the time of recording this, the game is 30% off on Steam. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is a great return to form, but nothing you haven't played already, if you're at all a fan of Sonic racing games. We're not done just yet though, because I figured I'd also throw in my 2 cents over Sonic Rumble, which is to say I don't have much to say about this one. I didn't really follow this one at all. The general interest just wasn't there, despite the premise being somewhat intriguing for me. It's Sonic the Hedgehog's take on Fall Guys, and for a time I used to fuck with Fall Guys, but pardon the wordplay, I fell out of that game pretty hard. I only occasionally play it now with my community, and even then that's only for about 2 hours and then I shelve it for another few months. I'm more likely to participate in the Fall Guys collaboration event in Final Fantasy XIV nowadays than play the actual game. Yeah, way to go, Romani, I'm proud of you. I still find it fun, I want to stress, it's just I find little reason to go back to it. But like Fall Guys, Sonic Rumble is also a free-to-play game that's primarily meant for mobile devices like Android and iOS, but you can also play it on Steam, which is the version I decided to play in. Yeah, it sure as shit looks like it was meant for mobile devices. The user interface is simple enough, but even on Steam, it assumes I'm playing with a touchscreen. Excuse me, no. God, this game is so unapologetically aggressive with the microtransactions. It's a free-to-play game, so it's to be expected. But fuck, man, if you're a parent and you got a kid who loves Sonic and they want to play this, you supervise the fuck out of that little shit, because the game will repeatedly mention current deals going on with season passes, multiple season passes at that, or spending money to get currency faster so that you can purchase those extra skins without actually having to play the fucking game. I love Sonic. Most of the time, but I refuse to spend a single dollar on this game, and I was quite frankly getting annoyed at how persistent the game was trying to shove the season pass down my throat. I guess it makes sense in the context of the game's foundation. It's Eggman playing with his action figures, so of course he'd want to milk you for all you're worth, but fuck him and fuck his toys. I just want to play the game with my community, which, to get into the game properly, I thought was just fine. It really is just Fall Guys with Sonic's trademark gameplay, so you got the speed, you got fast-paced platforming with a bunch of shit trying to kill you, and a homing attack that may or may not work sometimes. Games can either be a race to the finish, a challenge to see who can collect the most rings or kill the most badniks, and these could all either be in 2D or 3D. For what it's worth, the game itself is more than playable, and I had a pretty enjoyable time playing against my supporters or thrashing children online, because that's who I'm likely playing online against, a bunch of kids. At a baseline, I find the gameplay more invigorating than a standard Fall Guys experience because of what Sonic's identity brings to the formula. As someone who's been playing Sonic most of his life, getting into this wasn't a problem at all. I think it really hits my niche. Yeah, it's a bias, I fully admit that. The Sonic fan is recommending you a Sonic game. Who knew? But if you're watching this, you're also probably a Sonic fan. It doesn't need convincing in the first place, but I know you fucks appreciate validation more than anything. Also, if you manage to avoid the temptation of spending money on this, collecting the currency needed to begin unlocking additional skins and other incentives doesn't take terribly long. Again, this is a game you play passively. You boot it up, you complete your weeklies, get your rewards, and you move the fuck on to something else. I wouldn't recommend grinding this game because of how aggressive the game's advertisements are, and because, like Fall Guys, I don't think the core gameplay is engaging enough beyond a small gameplay session. So from what I played in my couple of sessions, I thought Sonic Rumble was just fine. I had little issues with the controls, it's damn simple to pick up and play, and the presentation is pretty cute. And personally, I think by default, it has better music than Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. I'm serious, give it a listen. They put a lot of love into the game's soundtrack for this one. You can do a lot worse with free-to-play titles. It's just, if you're gonna play this, wrap a condom around your wallet, practice safe playing. Sonic Rumble is harmless otherwise and not at all terrible. But I wouldn't be surprised if this game completely fell off the face of the earth in a year's time. Not that you're hurting for things to play this year, either for the holidays or just 2025 in general. This year was pretty fucking stacked, especially for racing games, because you got Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, you had Mario Kart World that came out earlier, and you had the new Kirby Air Riders game, which people have been asking me, so are you gonna look at that? And I'm gonna be honest, probably not anytime soon, because I'm not really that much of a Kirby guy, and there's got to be some interest there in the first place for me to consider it. But that is a game I'm willing to bite the bullet on if enough people in my community want me to tackle it. And I do know a lot of people have played Kirby Air Riders over the last couple of